I know, I'm the last horror fan in the world to get to this movie. But here we are. I think it did pretty well for the time being. Came out in 2000 with a budget of 23 million and a box office of 113 million. Alex Browning is embarking on a trip to Paris. Alex experiences a premonition. He sees the plane explode moments after leaving the ground. Alex insists that everyone get off the plane, and seven people, including Alex, are forced to disembark. All watch as the plane actually explodes in a fireball. He and the other survivors have briefly cheated death, but will not be able to evade their fate for very long. One by one, these fugitives from fate fall victim to the Grim Reaper. Yeah, this movie was a little bit different. This wasn't your typical Jason Halloween Scream type film. I mean, this wasn't like a slasher per se. There wasn't some maniac in a mask going around cutting people up. At the same time, it wasn't quite like a supernatural. I mean, it was supernatural, but it wasn't quite the same as like your Insidious, Conjuring type movies either. Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes both gave it 36. No surprise there. It's a horror film. Internet Movie Database, 67. Okay, they were a little nicer. And Google users up to 89%. Now, here's how Common Sense Media breaks it down. And then I'll give you my personal rating on it afterward. Positive messages, very little. The main character tries to do good by attempting to save the lives of those he thinks are going to die. He's also willing to give his own life to save another. That's a good role model right there. Parents need to know that Final Destination has intense scenes of violence and gore peppered throughout. The death of the victims in these scenes is not caused by another person, but instead by circumstance and chance, instigated by the shadowy figure of death, who is sometimes seen as a blur in the background. Yeah, that was something right there. That was kind of a little bit trippy right there. Like, whoa, wait a minute. There is very little sexual content aside from a makeout scene and a glimpse of a naked woman in a magazine. Profanity is limited to our introduction to the high school students at the beginning of the film. To stay in the loop on more movies like this, you can sign up weekly for Family Movie Night emails, okay? 21 parents reviewed this and 61 kids. Why is it that with these type of movies, I see more kids give reviews on it than parents? That's just the thing that I've just found funny. Like, why is that? I don't get that. Don't tell me that don't tell me that there's more kids than parents giving their review on something like Basic Instinct or something like that. But here's how Common Sense Media breaks down the synopsis. If the Grim Reaper has chosen our time, can we escape it? Does death have a design? If so, and we figure it out, can we change it? These are the questions that high school senior Alex begins to ask. He's played by Devon Sawa. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And as I say in every video, there's always at least one name that I'm not 100% certain how to pronounce. So I hope I pronounced that right. If I didn't, I'm sorry. Just after taking his seat on the flight, Alex has a very vivid vision that the plane carrying himself and his classmates on a field trip to France will explode shortly after takeoff. He freaks out and is taken off the plane with 5 others who somehow get caught up in his hysteria. Sure enough, as Alex and a classmate argue at the gate, the plane takes off without them and explodes. One by one, those 6 who escaped the plane begin to die under curious circumstances. Alex becomes convinced that the 6 of them cheated death, and now death is coming to get them in the order they would have died on the plane. Alex, still having visions, is determined that if he can figure out death's design, he can save the lives of those who got off the plane. Is it any good? Now, I think that it was pretty good. I would give this movie I guess I can give it about an 8, seeing as how I do plan on watching the other 4 movies. If I'm not mistaken, I think I may have seen something that said that a 6th movie was either in development or they're speculating it or something, but I don't know. I'll get to that in another video. This movie has a convincing enough plot, unfortunately one that by now has become cliche, so desperate in this film to create an aura of suspense and foreboding that by the end of the film, any object in existence could be a weapon in the hands of the Grim Reaper. This certainly makes for suspense, but not good suspense. Perhaps the film loses a lot of ground here when in the opening sequence of the film, the camera lingers on the cover of the book Death of a Salesman. This is the degree to which the filmmakers are trying to spook us and fail. by referencing the title of a book that has nothing to do with the death of anyone. Watching this film merely becomes a countdown to gore as curiosity over how someone will get it overshadows any curiosity over who will get it. Overall, the film proves disappointing. Again, like I said, I think it was all right. 7.5 at the least. So 7.5, maybe 8. That's what I would give it. Families can talk about death and or the concept of destiny. Are our lives predetermined or do we have free will? To what degree are we able to control what happens in our lives? That's a tough question because I've always been a believer in the idea of, hey, well, I guess that's not totally relevant. I can't totally say that as far as like doing what you want, as far as, just hope and pray and stay safe. But at the end of the day, as a Christian, I still say that, everything is in God's hands. So as our lives are our lives predetermined or do we have free will? I do believe that we have free will. I don't know if when they wrote this movie, so when they did this movie at the time, I don't know if this was a heavy discussion then, or is this what like the writers and the directors and the producers on them, this is what they intended as far as them planting that message in there, or did it just happen to be, this is just a movie for, what we're doing and people just decided to discuss it afterwards, so are people overthinking it? I don't know. But either way, I thought it was an interesting movie. All 5 movies are available to watch on Max and Tubi, and that's exactly where I'm watching them at now. So like and subscribe. I will be talking about the other films once I get to them. I'll be covering other horror films too and other movies in general. I'll be covering prom night movies. I'll be covering the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, the Friday the 13th movies, the Halloween movies, and then action thriller movies like Taken, Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious. All that stuff is coming pretty soon. So check the movie on Max and or Tubi. If you have access to either one, of course, Tubi is free. So there's that. So check it out. We have more soon.